Hello, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about JavaScript switch statement. You know that we have our if statement, that by using our if statement, we can run our code based on our condition and row. For example, let's say here we have A, which is number 1 right here. And then here we have a bunch of if statements. And we want to check if A is equal to 0. We want to print and console log that A is 0. And we have a bunch of others, let's say 3, 1, which in this case we want to say A is 1 and A is 2. And in our conditions, we should have A is 1 and A is 2. So now if we run, you know that we got this A is 1 because only this condition is true, and we're going to render and run only this block of code. And if we change this to number 2, for example, and run, we got this result going on. Another way of doing things just like this and comparing multiple values to our value and run code based on them, we can use our switch statement, which here we use our switch keyword right here. And then here we put our expression, which is the variable or the thing that we want to compare with our values. So in this case, our expression is A right here. And then here we open block inside of this curly braces. And here we need to have our case keyword and write the number or the value that we want to check if this number or value is equal to our variable. So here let's say we want in case 0, which is going to check if it is equal in the type and in the value. So if we want to convert this into if statement, we should put 3 equal marks here to check the type 2. And after we put our second value to be compare, we use our double columns right here. And after this, we can type our code to run if A equal to 0, which here I'm going to use exactly this code. And after putting our code, we're going to come line below and set our second case, which is if A is equal to 1. Then our double columns, actually let's make these in single line, and in this case we want to have this one and then one other, which is going to say if it's equal to 2, we're going to have this console log, and we can delete our if statements now. And now if we run, you can see that we got this A is 2 right here, and that's because A is equal to 2, and this part is going to be render and run. But if we change this 2 to number 1 and run our code, you can see that we got this A is 2 still running by the fact that we know A is not equal to this 2. And that's because that we need to have these in separate lines and use our break keyword after finishing codes that we want in this case. So our block of code of case 0 is going to start from here and end on this break. So we need to have this break all along our cases, and we're going to make these code blocks close. And now if we run, you can see that we got only A is 1 and not this one printing. And of course, we can have our A is 0, and again, we're going to have this code running. And pay attention that here we can have multiple lines of code, no matter, it's going to run and we can do anything that we want right here. But let's say here we have our A to be number 4. So you see that none of these are going to be exactly the same as A. And if we run, we can't get anything on our console. So what we can do is that we can define one default value right here, which is going to be run if none of the other cases executed. So if A is not 0, 1, or 2, then this line of code and this block of code is going to be run. So here let's say we copy this first and put that right here. And here we say a is larger than 2. And if we run now, you can see that we got the default value of a is larger than 2. And because we put this default in the last item after all of our cases, we don't need this break keyword right here. So we can remove that. And if we run, you can see that we got this. But if our a is, for example, number 2, and run our code, you can see we're going to run this code block and code which it prints a is 2. But here let's say we want to give same answer both for number 1 and number 0, which let's say in these one we want to print a is less than 2. One way that we can do this is, of course, we put the same string that we want to print into our console log. And now if our a is number 1 and we run the code, we got this result. And again, if it is 0 and we run the code, we got the same result. But this is not right way of doing things because our code is going to be bigger. And in some cases that you might have multiple lines of code inside each of your cases, it's going to be complicated and big problem to manage. So what we do, we remove all of these items and write our case 0 right here. And after these double columns, we come in the next line and write our case 1. And in this syntax, we're going to run this code block both for a is equal to 1 and a equal to 0. So now if I run, you can see that we got a is less than 0, which is this code running right here. And if our a is number 1, again, we're going to have this code running. And if it's number 2, because we have this console log of a is 2, we're going to have that in our console. And if it's some other numbers, which is not in our cases, it's going to come and run our default value, which is a is larger than 2. And if we run, you can see that we got that printing on our console. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.